Jim will take care of it.
We are live.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you and welcome to the June 26th June meeting of the Oak Hills Park Authority. I am Alan Dutton. I am chair of the authority. We'll call to order. I am here as I call your name. If you could just say aye or raise your hand on the roll call. So we have Gary Leeds.
Here.
Jeff Schweitzer.
I'm here.
Jennifer McAllister.
Here.
Richard Dellinger.
Good evening, here.
Denise Brown. Denise, you're on mute.
Good evening.
Good evening. So we do have a quorum. As other members join us, we will add them on. A third item on the agenda is the acceptance of the minutes. Could I have someone please move to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Richard Dellinger, second. Is there any discussion as to any errors or omissions or changes in the minutes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Denise?
Okay, I'll go first. So in the tennis report, in the first paragraph, the third sentence, I would like to strike the part that says Mrs. Brown noted Kings Highway. I'd like to cross out is using the courts and just put in Mrs. Brown noted Kings Highway used to have the courts rolled daily by the Davis Company. It was kind of used. I don't know, the sentence just got a little confused there. And I'm sorry, in the sentence before that, we have to insert the word courts under, she asked Mr. Holliday if the courts should be re-rolled. So courts need to be inserted in there, that sentence. And on the third paragraph, I thanked Jim Shell for planting 3 new trees, and it's also included is, or not included, but added to that is the 18 green giants.
It was actually 19 that they added. Jim can verify it though.
Jim?
Yes,
Which one?
19.
Thank you. 19 green giants.
Thank you, Denise. Anything else? That's it?
Yes, I have a couple. On page 2, B restaurant, it says Mr. Lloyd. It's Mr.
Lloyd. Yes, I have that one.
Mr. John Lloyd. Then we skip to page 9. During my budget discussion, the bullet point that says park maintenance and equipment, the third line down, FY23 was 691,000, but FY24 should be FY25 forecast, and that goes for the that's for that one. And then just afterwards, it says an FY25 budget. That should be FY26 budget. And ending that sentence should be from the FY25 forecast, not 24 forecast. And that's it for me.
So I did notice on page 1, under the beginning where it says attendance, staff, and other. Under other, they have Robert Stowe as Director of Recreations and Park. Robert Stowe should be put up to attendance as one of the authority members. So that's on page 1. On page 2, we had Mr. Lloyd, so that has been changed. On page 3, under Nature Advisory, we had Mary Very. The exclamation mark should be an L. So under C, Mary Verrill, not Mary Very. So those are the changes I saw. Are there any other members of the authority that saw any other errors or omissions we need to look at? Okay, there being none, could we please, I'd like to call for a vote to approve the minutes as amended. All those in favor, please either raise their hand or say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The minutes are approved as amended. Next item on the agenda is item number 4, public participation. James, do we have anybody wishes to raise their hand in public participation?
We do not.
Public participation is now closed. Item number 5 on the agenda is reports. Chairman's report, not a lot to report for this meeting. Obviously, we're going to be finalizing and approving the budget. We will have the nominating report from Jennifer concerning the authority, and we will be going into an executive session to talk about a contract issue. During these last 2 or 3 weeks, I had 2 meetings of the tennis selection subcommittee. Robert Stowe has very kindly allowed us to use a boardroom over at the city. So we've had 2 meetings there. They've been quite fruitful meetings, lively meetings, which is good discussion. And we are in the process now of finalizing the RFP, request for proposal, working with the city. I know that Jim and Richard were over there meeting with the city. So we have another meeting set up for next Thursday. So the process is moving along quite well. Thank you to all members of the committee. And that's pretty much all I have from the chair. Next item is under reports is item B, the restaurant. John Lloyd. John, you're with us. If you'd like to unmute yourself.
Hi everyone, good afternoon.
Hey, John.
How's the volume? Can you hear me okay?
You certainly can.
Good.
Very good.
So relatively short and upbeat reports for the last 30 days. May to June, despite the mostly wet May, May was a strong month of sales and June is looking to exceed it. This month alone, we've had 26 separate private events, drop-offs, or large-scale events of some description or another. And that's really helping support the regular restaurant traffic, which is itself significantly stronger than the same time last year. And all of this is a testament to the hard work and planning conducted by our team during the last 6 months. Building the book of business, strengthening our capabilities with staff training and menu testing, and keeping the faith really that the work that we did last year has helped seed the improved throughput that we're now experiencing. We've invested in a beautiful array of flowers on the porch that is really enhancing the experience of being out there eating and drinking. And we're grateful for all the support and effort Jim is putting into deadheading and corralling the troops for the daily task of watering them, which is no mean feat. We've successfully implemented signage on the course for improved takeout service for golfers in a hurry. We're looking at ways of helping educate customers into the QR code technology, which the system requires for it to be successful. We've also helped with the large format banner signage seen on the course, at the tennis courts, and in sponsoring the Little League baseball team. We're kind of helping spread positivity about the amenities that Oak Hills is offering to the local community. We've also seen a pretty solid uptick in non-golfing customers supporting the restaurant, which I'm sure is helped by the winter approach we had of staying open for the locals, as well as the relatively large volume of people that have been flowing through the restaurant, attending parties that we're hosting. And it's gratifying to see the fantastic reviews that are now visible on Google reviews for the business. And I guess, yeah, we hope to keep the momentum going for July with a strong lineup of bands from July 4th onwards. And we're staying positive that we have turned the corner at Oak Hills. And that is the end of my report.
John, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for John at this time?
Yeah, I just want to ask, does he think he's getting enough golfers through the restaurant?
Hi, Gary. Well, I think we are experiencing month-on-month improvements in golfers coming through. And I think there's always room for improvement, certainly on our side as well. We're currently looking at extending our closing hours midweek. And it really is just a kind of a bit of a balancing act between trying to manage our costs and but trying to service the golfers that tend to come off the course once the sun goes down. So we want to improve the service that we offer, but we're actively analysing what we can do at the moment.
Okay.
John, obviously, we've spoken about this, and I'm sure we'll continue to speak about the balance between the private parties and the golf traffic and how it can mix together. I think it's working okay, but we should never lose sight of, obviously you need the private parties because that's where the really good revenue for you is. And golfers need to be able to get drinks and burgers and stuff like that. And I don't think it's really an issue, but we just need to always keep remembering it. So I think, John. So,
thank you.
Any other questions for John?
No questions, but thanks to you, John, and your team. That's the best report I've heard of from the restaurant in a long time. And, kudos for all the work you put in.
I'd like to reiterate that, and I think it's finally beginning to show to pay off, which is just great. Thank you. Let the minutes record that Mary Verrill has now joined us. Mary, welcome. Thank you. Next item on the agenda actually just happens to be Mary Verrill Nature. Good timing, Mary.
Thank you. I lost you in my computer. It took me a little while to find you, and I apologize. We've had a good month also in the Nature Center. Thanks to Larry, Bill, Audrey, Mark. We had an open house on June 18th for the alternative lawn, and we had quite a few people. We had about 35 people through there, including garden clubs from Greenwich and New Canaan and Norwalk, and we had people from the city come through, and it was a very successful open house in terms of showing off our alternative lawn. Garnered a lot of interest. We got some good press. News 12 came down, and Nancy on Norwalk showed up. So that was a very successful undertaking. We're continuing to kind of publicize the Nature Center, get the word out. It's coming. We're going to be working with the Tree Alliance on the next project is going to be a food forest. We're looking to do a food forest, not only in the fountain garden, but also along the nasty areas there on the sides of the Great Lawn. It's just all invasives, and so we want to kind of make that into something good and positive. The area that's not being mowed is now filled with birds and birdhouses, and everyone is occupied. So that's a good thing. The only question I have for Jim is I'm wondering on the north end of the Great Lawn where the walkway goes, there's a stand of wineberry that looks like it's been burnt or desiccated or something. Do you have any idea what's going on there? I don't, something's happening over there, and I'm not sure if it got sprayed or I don't know what happened back there, but that's the part of the area that we're looking to do the food forest in.
Yeah, that's something I don't have an answer for you on. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. It just looks like it got burned or something. I don't know what's going on there. We might have to test that soil, make sure that, because if we're going to do a food forest, we don't want to deal with any kind of noxious materials in there.
Even if it were, there's not anything we use that's going to sterilize the soil for a long period of time.
Yeah. Well, we'll test it before we put anything in, I'm sure. Okay, what else do we have? Oh, the grant that we put in for, I did talk to the woman, and we did not get the grant this year, but she encouraged us to try again next year. So we're still going to be actively looking for grant monies to improve the trails and to help with this food forest project. So we'll be working on that. What else? Oh, so we're working on the trails. We've got Tulip Tree Design, who's the landscaper who came in and helped us rework the path there behind the dumpster. and he's coming in again with his crew and to help us do some invasive removal in the Great Lawn area there. So he's willing to help again. And that's about all I have. We're just, moving forward.
So, Mary, I'd like to thank you for the for the lawn. I did take a look at it, and it looked really interesting. And I've had 2 or 3 people come up to me and just said, "Oh, you're involved with Oak Hills." It was a really great thing. So we got a lot of press, but thank you very much for you and your committee for doing that. Does anybody else have any questions or comments for Mary?
Yeah, I have a couple. Mary, I was just wanting to ask you, how did you get Channel 12 to come to your event? Did you call them or?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and you just made a request and they just showed up and?
They with the way they left it was, we'll see. I
We'll
think
see.
I think the idea is, if there was something more pressing, they would have been there, but it must have been a slow day. So they did come and they took quite a few pictures and they interviewed Audrey. So it was very good, but it was kind of haphazard. We didn't know if they were going to show or not.
I see. And the other thing is that Terrell McGoldrick, you've been speaking with her? She's looking to speak with you about maybe extending that the natural growth for the we have an area by the tennis courts that we were thinking of putting in the same kind of garden that you had put in.
Oh, I've been talking to her about, she wanted to do some screening along the courts with grasses. So I've been talking to her about some of the grasses that she might want to put in that aren't too, they're not too tall and they're not too overwhelming, but they would give you screening and they would also provide for the drainage. I guess there's a drainage issue. So I think they would help with the drainage. But yeah, I'm happy to work with the alternative lawn. The idea behind that one is that it only gets about 4 inches high. It doesn't get any higher than that. So that's why it's a more of a lawn than it is a meadow kind of a landscape. So yeah, I'm happy to work with her.
Is that something that doesn't get mowed?
No, we don't. We're this is our first year, so we're all kind of learning. We're gonna watch it week by week and month by month. We believe that it only needs to be mowed maybe at the end of the year, and that's about it. Doesn't need water, doesn't need fertilizer, doesn't need anything. And it's walkable. I've been stomping through it to pull. There's a couple invasive mugworts in there, so I've been pulling those out. But I've been stomping through it, and then I've seen deer in there. There's some deer in there, and then I went to see where the deer damage was. I couldn't see it. So it's walkable.
Oh,
That's great.
interesting. That's great. Thank you.
Anything else for Mary?
That's about it.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda, Denise, stay on the line. You're up next. Item number D, tennis.
Good evening again, everybody. So the courts are pretty active right now. Of course, it's all depending on the rain, but in between the rain, the courts seem pretty busy, which is great. We have a couple of things planned for the summer. I think we might have already mentioned that we have the Wimbledon tournament coming up, which is Sunday, July 6th. We're taking in reservations for people who would like to play. We also have we have a food that we have with the Odean's restaurant. They put together like a breakfast at Wimbledon as part of our event. And it's going to be a mixed event of, men and women. And this is, I think, going into our 4th year, and it's been a lot of fun. So we're looking forward to hosting that event again. For the treasurer's report for the supporters for tennis, we have about 14,907. So we've been pretty consistent with that amount of money. We haven't had any new contributions recently. We do have a possible donor who has requested for us to give him a list of some items that we were looking at to possibly improve the courts. So Rich was putting together a list of different items and was going to present it to him. I don't know if any of that will happen, but you know, it's nice to know that he's interested in donating to our tennis facility. For the long-term plans right now, it's kind of going a little bit quiet right now since we're working on the RFP. And we're also working on tennis rules to kind of see what we need to do to just kind of take a look at some of the things and, you know, kind of a little bit of code of conduct and just general things that we want to put together to have some kind of rules based for the tennis center. You know, we've had a couple of incidents that have happened in the past, so we don't want those to kind of reoccur. Nothing very terrible, but just things that we'd like to keep on top of. And we're also planning the Grassroots Fall Tournament, which is the Memorial for Art Goldblatt. That's in September. It's finally been posted on the USTA website. So it is up for registration. That's going to be the weekend of September 19th to the 21st. All the money that is raised will go to Grassroots, and then we will put together a volunteer staff to assist the tournament that weekend. And we will also try to reach out for supporters and try to figure out how many things we could kind of bring in for the tournament itself. So that is pretty much my report at the moment.
Hey, Denise, any questions for Denise on the tennis report? There being none, thank you. Item E is supporters of Oak Hills. I don't see Jerry Crowley on here. Mark, I don't know if there's anything you have at all. Anything on the supporters, Mark?
No, in fact, I was speaking with Denise last week on it, and there's no update. There's been no new donations.
No new update. Okay. Item F is the long-term planning committee. Gary leads. Gary.
I don't have much to report that's new that wasn't discussed at last meeting in May. As you heard from Mary, she's working on a few things, and Denise has put some things aside. But now that I'm back for the summer and everything, pretty much, I'll start scheduling meetings with Jim and people and see how we're doing as we try and push this one along.
Thank
Alan, sorry, it's TJ. Sorry for being a few minutes late. I could probably add just one thing in from the long range planning perspective, at least on the golf side.
And please be advised that TJ Trimbroli has joined the meeting at about 7:25. Thank you for the minutes. Thank you, TJ.
Thanks. Yeah, so sorry, apologize again about being late. So we are having, I believe in not next week, but the week after, we do have an architect coming that the First Tee has facilitated to come and take a look at some of the ideas that we have, that just to figure out what's possible from that point of view. So nothing is definite, but we've got some options of what we're thinking about, and we really just need to get some professional in there to say, yes, this is possible, or no, this is not possible, so that we can then be able to present the city with a couple different options in terms of what we're looking at.
TJ, do you have a date for that by any chance?
I believe it's the second week of July, but in terms
July
of
11th.
the exact, yeah, okay, there you go. So July 11th is, thanks, Jim, is the date.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
So, yeah, and we'll, so definitely at the next meeting, I'll definitely have more to report on that.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Gary? No, TJ at all? Okay. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a nominating committee, item G. Jennifer kindly headed the nominating committee. In fact, I think she was the nominating committee, which is, thank you for that. And Jennifer, if you have a quick report, that'd be great.
I do. I have reached out to the existing executive committee members, and they've agreed to continue in their current roles for the next year. So we have Alan Dutton as chair, Richard Dillinger as vice chair, and Denise Brown as treasurer. And I would like to make a motion to approve the slate and call for a vote.
Could we have a second for that motion, please?
So moved.
Gary leads second. You've heard the motion from Jennifer. All those in favor, please either say aye or raise your hand. Aye.
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 And I would like to say thank you to all of you for helping us all out for another year, right?
Yes.
I believe the pleasure is all ours, but I'm not sure yet. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Be
Thank you,
determined, right?
Jennifer, for doing that.
Thank you.
I think you've got and I think you have seniority, Jennifer, on all of us here as far as length of term here, which we appreciate. Okay, next item is our item H, golf professional. Paul, your turn.
Thank you, Alan. Well, June is almost over. Memorial Day is past. Kids are out of school, and we've been really busy every day. Lots of young people playing golf when the weather's good. Even when it was really hot, we had a lot of young people out there. The course opens at 6 during peak summer on the weekends and 6:30 during the week. And I had moved the close time to 6:30 p.m. earlier than normal due to a high demand for tee times in the late afternoon, which is bringing in additional revenue. And due to that demand, we also earlier in the year moved the peak play back. We moved off peak back a little bit too. And instead of twilight, we have 9-hole rates now. And I think a lot of that, I'm sure Mike will tell you, it's definitely increased our revenue. So since the tee sheets are so busy, we even have some new golfers who want to play and just go play a couple holes. We've allowed them to go out at 6:40 and sometimes 6:50 at night. And since it's been so popular, I think I'm really going to start some family golf where some family members can bring some little kids out for 2 or 3 holes possibly, or even some really beginners, because as we know, beginner golfers take a little longer and they don't like the pressure of other golfers behind them. And I might even talk to John Lloyd. We've had a couple leagues. We don't have as many. I don't even know if we really need them. I'd like to really start a little 9 and dine. And a lot of my clinic people or some of the golfers are very interested in playing 9 holes and going in and have a little dining experience. And I think I can work together with John and maybe create some sort of menu for that. So our golf staff is at 35 members. We've had 38 in the past, but we're really doing well with our staff. And I think this is the best staff we've had in 14 years, my 14 years at Oak Hills Park. A few of our recent this year hires, 2025 hires, have been really a great addition to our operation, and our second year staff people who were here last year have really become familiar with the operation and our membership and are been extremely helpful. And Steve Shepard's efforts have been great. Our staff is completely comfortable with our new 4UP software. And I know he's comfortable with the fact that they all know what they're kind of doing now. We have 1,097 golf memberships since January 1. Last year at this time, we had 1,090. And I'm thinking that we have a few more out-of-town memberships this year than last year. Next month, early July, we sell memberships again at a slightly discounted price, which worked very well in 2024. We've had 6 outings so far this year that went well. There are 15 more outings remaining on the schedule. We added 8 new outings this year, and we had an FCAC outing last Monday, and I want to say that I went in there and had some food, and they prepared some really nice sandwiches, smoked turkey, a great small little Italian combo, and a great roast beef. I think everybody was really happy with the food. Both the Oak Hill Men's Golf Association and the Women's Golf Association are in their 11th week of tournaments. Recently, we had a Titleist golf ball fitting and a Callaway demo day with Odyssey putters as well. And they were full with appointments. And 4UP is going well for us. And our various booking engines continue to drive a lot of golfers to our golf course. 68 carts we have, they're all doing really well. They're in their last year of the lease, and Rossetti's kept them running good and looking pretty nice after 5 years. Recently, I got certified to be a certified PGA coach. And so what that means is if someone goes on the PGA of America and looks up certified coach and they just pick Norwalk, Connecticut, my name and Oak Hills will come up, and they'll come over and we help them with their golf game. Other than that, we're approaching July here, and we expect things to be really busy into and through September. Anyone has
Thank
any?
you, Paul. Any questions for Paul?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I have a question. The Nine and Dine sounds quite wonderful. It sounds very good. And so does the family golf. I'm not a golfer, but my question is, so if I have a family like grandchildren, ages 9 and 7, is there equipment for them? How might they?
Yeah.
You do have children's clubs?
We have lots of everything.
Oh, cool. I think that's a great idea.
And a lot of the little kids, they only want to play 2 or 3 holes. Maybe that's all they can play. And it'd be great to get them out there with the grandparents and the whole family.
Yeah,
One of the great things about the game of golf is that, everybody can play with each other no matter about ability or their age.
yeah. I love it. Thank you.
It'll go well. It'll work well.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I got one policy and one question. Along the line of family golf and everything, I've seen on other courses where there's sort of been a family tee, sometimes in the fairway, sometimes brought forward. And then also I played with somebody recently, and I won't bring up their name, but they said that women don't want to play our course because it's too hard. And I wonder, as we look at design and some other things, whether we can propose some tees even more forward than the green tees. It's something to look at. Maybe we'll talk about it in the long range plan. I look at the backside as maybe a place to do that, but I wonder if we could think about a family tee
Yeah.
circle or something, maybe in the beginning of all fairways or something, and just have a nice, looking thing, anyway.
Well, I can tell you what I've done in the past. We sell a lot of U.S. kids golf clubs. They're like one of the premier
Yeah.
companies. Instead of just having 3 sizes for juniors, they have 9. They have tournaments all over the country. And I got years ago, I had a U.S. kids tees, and they basically go into the ground, and they're there just like the plates you see for 100 yards or 150.
Right. Yeah.
This is U.S. kids, and then we kind of even gave a diagram of where they were, and just shortens the course. And even when we do our junior club championship, we have little kids out there. We put tees in the fairway, the old Oak Hills tees, tee markers that we don't use anymore, and we put them out there at maybe 200 on a par 5 and 150 on all the par 4s, and maybe 100 yards or less on the par 3s, and it really works well. So that's something we could do if you wanted to put something permanently in the ground there. And I will say, even a couple of professionals have told me they think the course is a little long for women. Or we have Joe Felder, who's our past Met PGA president, and he frequents Oak Hills a lot, and he mentioned that to me not too long ago. So obviously you could put in new tees, that's an added expense, but we could also just mow some grass and, maybe just put some tees up, secondary tees on the real long holes.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So part of the long range, I'll talk with you and Jim about that.
Yeah, I can add to that. Back in 2015, when the grand plan for the whole course was done, the drawings were done. It was pretty well thought about and actually planned on, but we have so much infrastructure that was failing back then, and we still do now actually, that the money was decided to be spent on that infrastructure and not extra set of tees, because that's quite an expense to build them.
Well, maybe we can think about that, and we don't have to build them all at once, but
right,
build one
Yep.
here, one there, and
Definitely.
just kind of say they're coming. The other question I have is more a policy question about handicap carts and whether we should have a policy on people who really need handicap carts and need to be able to drive closer to greens or things like that. I don't know if we have that policy. At one point, I thought we could get carts closer to the green. I play with somebody who had a knee operation and he was able to tell them, give me the handicap cart. I don't know what's going on at this point with that.
Now, we've discussed this, Jim Holiday and myself, and obviously we want to reduce the amount of people who maybe might not be handicapped and say they are. So I think and he can fill you in here, but I think if they have a handicap sticker in the car, we have to provide them with a handicap card. So if they have that,
Okay, well, that's fine. So, if they can bring in their handicap sticker and show us, then we'll give you a handicap card.
well, that's what we're at.
And maybe we can have a flag also that we hand out. And they be responsible for returning it, that they give whatever those things cost, $5 more than that, and they need to bring that back at the end of the round.
Well, that's a good idea, and I've also done that in the past, and I think that's a good idea so other golfers will see that is a handicapped person driving where they're really
Right. Yeah. So.
I think that this issue has come up once before, and Jim Holiday, correct me if I'm wrong, we do have a policy at this moment in time that if you do have a handicap sticker, you have the ability to show it at the when you check in at the desk, and then that is then communicated to the starter. Is that correct, Jim? Is that what our policy is at the moment?
100%.
And our 4UP system, we just log that in there once we see their proof, and then they're good to go for the rest of the year.
Okay, but let's get some flags for the carts and tell them they need to return those at the end of the round. Otherwise, they won't get a handicap cart in the future.
Idea. And our cart staff can just take it off the card.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Any more questions for Paul? Paul, thank you. Next item is Superintendent, item I. James, take it away.
Okay. There's really only besides my report, there's just a couple things I want to touch on in my talk here. I have been trying to get our work done with the staff that we have. We have currently 8 40-hour guys and 4 part-time seasonal guys that range from 12 to 30 hours a week. And I think I have the room in my budget because it's such a weird year. I have several part-time guys and I haven't actually analyzed it yet, but I'm almost positive that I can afford to have one more 40-hour guy on the crew. And I'm going to try to work that out at some point here in the near future. I do believe I do have room for it though. Do we want to talk about the T-mower right now, Alan, or?
I think what we're looking, Jim and I mentioned to me the ability. Jim, this is the one where we would buy it a few months earlier than
yeah, rather than purchase it in March as it is on the schedule. I'd like to get it in. I could put the excuse me, put the order in tomorrow and have the machine next week. But what that does effectively is add, I think, $5,250 extra for fiscal year 26 in payments, just because we're going to be buying it that many months earlier. So
what's the reason why you need to buy it earlier, Jim?
Our current T-mower is aging out, and we're putting a lot of work into it, a lot of parts into it, and a lot of time with our mechanic. So what I would do is essentially buy a new greens mower, move one of our current greens mowers, which are still great, over to the T's, and we wouldn't have to be spending so much time on that T-mower, time and money.
So what you're saying is that you currently, if you don't buy it till March next year, it's going to cost us money in, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
On materials, and maybe not the $5,500 worth, but it would just make it a lot easier. So
when you combine the time saved from doing the work and the money that we have to buy parts for it, and downtime. Downtime
Yeah.
especially is tough.
So, $5,000 in the grand scheme of things of our, budget for next year, and also considering what a great May we had where we were like $70,000 ahead in profit. I think this is not, I think this is something we could do. Anybody else, any thoughts on this matter?
How much is the T mower?
52.5.
And we would finance that as usual is what you're
Yeah.
proposing?
Yep.
Yeah,
Any-
what happened, Gary?
any-
We'd have like 7 months or 8 months worth of, payments. We'd be buying it 7 months before. So, the expense would be, earlier on than later. So we're spending a little more.
Do we know what the interest rate on that is?
No, I don't. Mark might
Mark?
have a better idea on that.
Does
Through
Mark,
Wells Fargo.
The last one we had was about 6.25%.
and what are we earning in the money market?
About 4. A little under 4 now on the
Little
money
under
market.
4, yeah.
CD is about 4, 4.25.
Does anyone think we ought to just pay for this out of some of our profits? And then we
Well,
don't have to,
I think we have budgeted for it, Gary, as far as doing it in March. It is in the budget for next year to lease it. It's just kind of leasing it. I guess the question is, do you want to spend $60,000 now, or do you want to, I understand what you're saying. I don't know. I don't know.
How long would the lease be for?
5 years.
The financing does add quite a bit to it when all is said and done. I think it's Jim will tell you too that historically we've always financed these things. Anything larger than call it 10,000, we've financed just so we didn't drop so much cash. But to be honest, and I even said to Jim, that much money, we'd have to finance. But Gary has a point. We don't. We have the money, and we're making less than we would be spending. So should we just buy it outright? I don't hate the idea.
so
I want to just also, chime in here for a moment. Jim has, his new mechanic is extremely detail oriented. He has reports compiled on every piece of equipment. And how many pieces of equipment would you say, Jim? 25, 30 pieces? It's a long list.
At least.
At least. And he, I go to the shop periodically and just chat with him, and his organization is showing two things. It's showing the age, it's showing the hours and that he's putting into the older equipment. That coupled with the point that Gary makes, what we're talking about, 2.25%. The difference between what we're making and what we're paying. I got to put a plug in for, first of all, the maneuver, and it certainly seems to me sensible with Mark and Gary both concurring that a purchase sounds pretty sensible, and we've got to have the equipment.
I have one thing to add to that then. If we do in fact go forward with it, I'm about to present the budget for next year. And if we purchase this in July, it would go right into our capital expenditures. And that much would be, $5,000 that we talked about earlier is immaterial, but $50,000 or more would be material. So I think we'd have to, and I know we have to vote on it tonight, but I think we'd have to do a quick scramble here and add that to our CapEx, knowing that it would reduce our cash effect for next year when I present the budget.
Mark, is there a prepayment clause in the Wells loan agreements?
No, I believe I've looked through them and there's not. I don't know that they're all the same or anything has changed, but
Yeah. So that could be another option around the challenge.
that's a great point, Jim. Yeah.
I just worry about spending $60,000 on an item that we have to capitalize. I mean, there's other things that may be coming down the pike in the way of replacing air conditioners that we don't know about yet. There is a
Water.
We may have to spend some money to replace our air conditioners.
And our capital expenditures budget that we're presenting today is already at the high end. So
Yeah, we're at 344 on our capital expense. This would take us up to $400,000.
Yeah.
So I do worry about that, guys, and I'd rather, not. I don't know. That's just my thoughts at the moment. So it's spending a lot of money in the beginning.
Can we look at the agreement and see if we're able to pay it off sooner? That's
Yes,
all.
but the problem is that if we vote on a budget tonight, this will affect it potentially.
No, I'm not saying that. It sounds like to me we can't do that, but I'd be interested to see if in these lease agreements, whether we have the right to pay off the lease ahead of time and save the interest later
Yeah,
on.
I can look at that tomorrow, Gary.
Sure.
Okay.
And I think we should work. We vote on the budget tonight, and then I think we can talk about in the next couple of weeks the capability if we want to do the lease situation and stuff like that. So I'd like to move forward in that direction if we can.
Or maybe we can have a 3-year payment plan or something. Just think about that as we go forward. I think
Okay.
we ought to look at that as shorten our payment terms.
Yeah, that's a good point,
That
Gary.
might be a good idea.
Yeah. Thank you for your input on this. You have very good knowledge on this. Thank you. Jim, you have anything else at the moment?
No, I don't. Any questions?
Any further questions for Jim? Of course, looks in great shape still. Thank you. I'm sure everybody's really happy about the rough. Is it any smaller these days, or?
Unfortunately, we're on our
days cutting it.
We've been using our backup rough mower. We've been having some trouble with the newer one, and we will not cut as low with the older one as the new one. Sorry.
All right.
I'll better hit it straighter then. All right.
Next item on the agenda, Mark, controller.
Yeah,
Okay.
as you've already mentioned, Alan, and if anybody read my report, we're having a very good year. May was fantastic. And again, I want to stress here that the net operating income for the first 11 months of the year were $232,000 above budget. That's fantastic. And I really do want to stress that it's all revenue in the sense that we're only $9,000 over budget on expense. Usually when you have an overage like that, it costs a little extra. And to put it in perspective, last year, May of 2024, we were $193,000 over in revenues, but $71,000 over in expenses. So for a net operating income overage of $122,000. So all that extra expense really brought down the net benefit. So that was $110,000 less than this year. And last year was a good year. So we're having a really good year this year. And we are set to beat June revs based on, I looked at month to date through like June 24th. And it looks like, again, it's all greens fees. It's all greens fees. We're going to come in under on not season pass, sorry, for ID passes and for carts probably, but it's our greens fees. The utilization is there. People are coming in and playing. And we're also set to end this fiscal year, which is Monday, June 30th, with over $200,000 above our budgeted cash balance. And I'm being very conservative there. It's likely going to be at least $250,000 or $300,000 above what we expected to end the year at. And that's with going up, like I said, over in some expenses and definitely over in our capital expenses. It's all that extra revenue that we got. So we're doing very well. Oh, one more thing. During this whole time, we've also made about $120,000 in repayments to the city, which is a little bit above budget because we've been more rounds equals more payments. So it's just like paying taxes. You should be happy to pay taxes. It means you're making money. So we're making money.
It's good to hear, Mark. Must be doing something right. Yep. Any questions for Mark on
Yeah, I got one. If we have all this additional cash, do we need to have another bank involved with holding some of this funds?
No, we're still doing okay.
Okay, all right.
I mean, could we to put some money over? Yes, but it always there's an ebb and flow throughout the summer into the winter. So And as I told you, I don't want to start getting into too much. What we've done with your help, especially, and Denise, was absolutely great. If this continues and we don't spend it on capital improvements, which I doubt, because I think we will spend it on capital improvements, then yes, maybe if it keeps going up, you're absolutely right.
Okay.
Yeah, because the limit's $200,000 for it to be
250, yeah.
protected.
Yeah.
And so
Any other questions for Mark?
actually, Mark, even though it's 11-month period that you're looking at, you know, February was just gone, right? There was like nothing going on in February, and January wasn't a good month. So really, you're looking at 9 months probably of having this revenue.
And even December, January, February, we were the only ones that we came in under budget. We did not have good months. But again, that's the time to do it, because it's
Right.
percentage wise, you know, it may look like, you know, we're 50% under budget, but it's $5,000. So it's yeah. So you're right.
So it's good.
Other questions for Mark? You can give a report like that every month if you like, Mr. Gardner.
I
Thank
would
you.
like to.
Item K, General Manager's report. James. Too many James here.
Well, I don't think I have anything to say. After Mark's report, I think I'm just going to sign off and say this has been a lovely evening, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you all tomorrow. I can't exactly say that. But I will say that the energy at Oak Hills Park is absolutely amazing. You know, the things that are going on at the tennis center, the condition of the golf course, all the kids and clinics that Paul and Mike are running. People are just really happy over there, and so in the outings, we've got a handful of new outings that have just infused us with new energy and positivity. We've got outings for 2 state women's organizations. You know, Gary, just to your point, yes, you know, it's a more challenging course, and some of the other courses in Fairfield County are very popular, but these statewide organizations have chosen to come to Oak Hills this year. They're both having outings in August. It's very exciting. They couldn't hold them at Oak Hills for some of the limitations that we had. So that's really exciting. Coincidentally, First Tee is having their annual board meeting and a golf outing on July 17th. So that's another event that we'll be holding. You know, the positivity in the restaurant is it's just great. I mean, to walk into the clubhouse now and to hear people eating and drinking and having fun, it's really a joy. So my report is within within the package. It's all pretty mundane stuff. Oh, I think I might end, Alan, to tell you and the group that it is. We will not be having a significant air conditioning expense in the near future. So that's
okay. That's good to hear.
On that good note.
That's good to hear. Thank
We've
you.
had a lot of service, a lot of maintenance, but it does not appear as though any system replacements will be necessary at this point. So thank you
Good to
very
hear.
much.
Any questions?
Yeah, yeah, I got one question, of course. I don't want to hear what you discussed, but you said you sat down with the Sterling Farms general manager to discuss areas of concern. Was that a good meeting? And should you be meeting with some of the other public courses, or bringing you guys together to talk kind of common issues?
I'm glad you picked up on that, Gary. I have, developed some relationships with some of the other GMs and other staff members. Basically when I was doing some staff modeling over the winter, the guys and women are very helpful. And yes, to answer your question, extremely positive. It initially started out as me just learning because, being new to the industry. But it's very beneficial, and they actually enjoy taking my phone calls, which is, it was surprising to me, but I guess, with the help of the other staff, I do have a little bit to offer. And it's a really good, it's a good exercise for all of us. So I'm glad you picked up on that. Very positive.
Okay.
Thank you, Gary. Any other questions for Jim?
Jim, I got two questions looking over your report. Just can you give us an update on your, you said you met with like some awning company about sunscreens for the terrace and also the electric for the sign out on the street?
Yeah, sure. The short story is the electric for the sign on the street, a little disappointing because the contractor came out, spent a couple of hours poking around and making a determination on where the line cuts out. Jim helped me out too in that area, but he hasn't gotten back to me with an estimate. So that's unfortunate. On the sunscreens, we have really good news. We have placed an order for 4 sunscreens that are expected to come in and be installed. These will hang between the columns and all of Odein's beautiful plants. They will be 12 feet wide, and there's 4 of them, so it's going to make the terrace a lot more inviting when the sun hits it pretty strong. So that's very exciting, and you'll see the new sunscreens the 3rd or 4th week in July.
Great. Thanks very much.
We accelerated that expense. We were going to wait until next fiscal year, but I was encouraged to move forward with that. So we did make a deposit on it.
After sitting in the sun this past week, I appreciate it.
I'll bet you do. Yeah. So do I. So do we all.
Any questions for Jim? There being none, next item on the agenda, item number 6. Any old business to bring before the authority? No old business. Item 7, new business. The item new business is the budget final review and vote. As you remember, ladies and gentlemen, we did in detail go through the budget last meeting with Mark, and everybody had opportunities to ask questions and look at the information, and we said we'll give you another month to look over it. So we talk about the operating budget, and then we talk about the capital budget. The operating budget has changed by about $20,000 less in that our net operating income was going to be $454,000, I believe. It is now going to be $434,000. And the reason for this, and if I waver on this, Mark, please kick in, is that the carts that we have basically they have a GPS system, and we lease that GPS system. We lease the carts. The carts were a 5-year lease, but the GPS was only a 4-year lease. We might want to remedy that when we do sign a new lease coming up. And so we have to basically purchase a year's worth of the GPS thing, and I believe it's about $4,000 or $5,000 a month. And what has happened is the lease is paid in the balance sheet, so it comes out of cash, whereas this is actually going to be an operating expense for these 4 or 5 months, and that's coming out of the P&L. Am I correct in saying that, Mark, or would you like to expand on that?
Two quick things. It's $4,000 a month for 6 months. It's a 6-month on and off lease like we do for most of our leases. And yeah, it's simply that a 1-year addendum lease, if you want to call it that, to get us to next year when the carts are due. That is considered an operating lease versus a capital lease, so it shows up on the income statement versus the balance sheet as you referenced.
Okay, that was the only major change, I believe, Mark, to what was presented at the last meeting. Am I correct?
That was it.
Do we have any further questions on the operating budget before we come to a vote? There being none, we do then have the capital budget, which we approved, which was at $344,500, which is actually over the years is quite the highest, one of the highest that we've had, and it does obviously incorporate the second phase of the bunkers, putting in a water well, and also the existing car path repairs of $70,000. The $70,000, as we discussed, is kind of, it's not at risk, but if we do find that something drastic happens and we do need to cut back, this is probably the area that we would need to cut back, and we probably do it later on in the capital year. So the capital budget is $344,000 for the year 2025-2026. Are there any questions on the capital budget?
Alan, I just had a couple things I wanted to clarify on the capital budget.
Surely.
So under water well for 40,000, was that for drilling?
Jim, you want to take that and just explain what it is? Jim Shell?
I don't think he's here. Is
Jim,
he-
I'm here. I'm sorry, I was on mute.
Okay,
We do have an existing well down by the pump house, which was drilled during the last superintendent's tenure, and it was decided that it couldn't produce enough, and I think they were going through some difficulty with licensing with the state, and something in that order that didn't allow them to get a permit to pump that water into the pond and withdraw that much extra water from the pond. So they couldn't get that permit. And I think now we've been at least 11 years in the clear of that situation. And if we go through the proper channels, we can resurrect that well, add 34,000 gallons a day to our total of how much we can withdraw from that pond on a daily basis, which, you know, if we can draw 84,000 gallons a day from the pond at $7 per 1,000 gallons, that's money saved and paid for within a couple of years, easy.
okay, I mean, it sounds like a project that's definitely something
Yeah,
that,
with the way that the water restrictions are set up with this, with South Norwalk Electric and Water, it would be a good move. It's kind of
Yeah,
a no-brainer.
It gives us an extra 34,000 gallons a day, which would really help us, I think.
That we don't have to pay for.
Yeah.
Right.
And I had one other question. So the resealing, relining the parking lots for the golf and for tennis. So the tennis is a whole lot more money. And that's basically because it's a smaller lot, but that's because of the curbing and the drain pipe. You know, it's almost like $20,000 more estimated, 63,000 versus your parking lot. And if I'm looking at the right parking lot, it's much larger than our tennis parking lot.
You mean that's
Yeah,
2 years down the road, right, Denise? Not this year.
No, but I was just trying to figure out what it's such a huge difference. I was just trying to figure out what the huge difference is.
I think if I may, I'd like to jump in there. Some of these numbers were generated before I arrived on the scene, and we have fine-tuned some of the expenses in the past couple of years. For instance, the cart path expenses, we were able to save quite a bit of money. Those numbers at this point, Denise, they're placeholders. Essentially, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, we do not have real estimates for these, but we are loath to remove these numbers because the repairs are necessary. So I think that the difference between the main park area and the tennis court parking lots, they are artificial. Because clearly the park has a whole lot more asphalt than there is at the tennis center. So Mark, I hope I didn't,
No,
Misspeak.
I don't know where I mean, you know, again, I'm the keeper of the file, but these numbers would have come from either you or Jim Shell, and maybe it is 2 years old. I don't know. I know we reviewed this year, but maybe it needs to be reviewed again. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we will have, asphalt expenses. but these numbers, they are not based on estimates that I ever saw. Jim, maybe they were, many years ago, but I don't know. I never saw, estimates.
Yeah, I think it was years ago, and
Yeah.
being that many years older, my memory's starting to fail sometimes.
Yeah.
But I do think it was a ballpark to
During the
make
front.
all the necessary repairs around the drainage grates in the parking lot and recurbing and possibly sealing. That might have been included in that, but it was a ballpark verbal figure that someone had given me.
So we'll
That's-
so we'll call it a placeholder for now, like Jim said. Okay, good,
Okay.
perfect.
Okay. All right, thank you. Just,
Anybody, any other questions on the budget?
Along those lines, I just have a small one. It's just a question for Jim. I saw the 6,500 for a hot water heater in the rental house, which struck me as a very high number. I know it's not a big number, but 6,000, is that what it costs to replace the hot water heater?
Yeah, it is, period. And actually, yes, it is.
How big a tank is that?
I think it's an 80-gallon tank. It was replaced because it was undersized, and it was probably a wise decision at this point because the assistant superintendent has recently moved into an apartment there and with his family. So I just really wanted to do that.
Does that take care of both families in that house?
It does.
And is it oil or gas, or what's the heat on the thing?
It's oil. It's
Okay.
right, Jim? It's
And,
oil,
and,
yeah.
and Jim, we couldn't do a continuous feed or whatever they call those things.
Mhm.
So we
Uh,
had to do a tank actually.
Yes, we did. The way it's configured, this was the most sensible approach, and an on-demand heating water tank would have been a lot more money than this.
Okay.
Sometimes the water pressure isn't good enough to do a continuous feed. It was in my house, you had to do a separate one, but it does seem a bit expensive, but okay. Any other excuse me, any other further questions for on the financial side? Okay, I would like to make a motion that the Oak Hills Park Authority approve the 2025-2026 operating and capital budgets as amended since the last meeting, and it's currently shown and presented to you on the screen here. And I think what I will do is I will poll all the individual members of the authority for their vote. Denise Brown.
I approve.
Aye. And Gary Leeds.
I approve.
Jeff Schweitzer.
Approved.
Jennifer McAllister.
I approve.
Mary Verrill.
I approve.
Richard Dellinger.
Oh, yes, I approve.
TJ Trimboli.
TJ's gone.
Is he gone? Okay, I have him here.
Oh, there he is.
On mute. Okay.
He's
I
back.
approve. So we have a vote, a positive vote. So the budget, operating and capital is approved. Thank you all very much for your hard work. Thank you, Mark, for all your hard work, and for all of our Gary and Denise. Thank you as well for your hard work on this. And I think we have a good budget for next year. It is less than we're currently doing by about 150,000, but it's always good to be a little cautious, I think. So
And thank you to Jim and Paul for being part of the process as
yes, indeed, for doing the hard work. We just opine on it, I think. Yeah, thank you. The next item on the agenda is we will go into executive session. I think you. Most of the authority members were given an email from Zelma Santry. So if we'd like to, I'd like to close the regular session for this moment and go into executive session, item number 7. Thank you.
well. All right.
You. Yeah.
Hey, Mary. I like your backdrop, the grass. I was wondering next time, maybe you could make an alternative lawn as the backdrop.
Definitely, yes, definitely.
Are we all here? I think we all seem to be here. We have a quorum. So we have finished our executive session discussing an employee contract. There will be some further discussions on the employee contract. We will be finalizing this very shortly, probably at the next meeting of the association of the authority, and we shall hope to finalize it at that time. Item 9 on the agenda, adjournment. Could I have a proposal for us to adjourn the meeting, do you think? Proposer.
So
I-
proposed. Can we adjourn the meeting?
I second.
To oppose, you.
End of a second. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all
Thank
very
you.
much.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Have a
And
great
Night all.
evening, everybody.
thank you.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Leave.